what's going on, everybody? This is Lady Luck here again. All right, finally getting to it. The whole ordeal about the Epstein files. And as you guys can see, the title International Headliner Candace Owens. What does she have to say about it? I know she's done many videos about the Epstein files, and I believe her stance on it is to release them. Doesn't matter who it is or who you vote for or support. It should not stand in the way of accountability and transparency and getting out the truth. Um, so I'm going to show a clip of her video that she did today, as well as a clip of Coffeezilla. He has a second channel called Voidzilla, and I'm a huge fan of Coffeezilla and his reportings. He takes down Ponzi schemes and crypto scams. And I'm talking about in hundreds of millions of dollars that have been scammed and stolen from people. He does interviews, and one of the greatest content creators that have the ability to kind of help crack down on those crypto scams. And I've learned a lot watching his content, and I've been a subscriber for about 2 or 3 good years. So we're going to play part of his video on the Epstein files as well. And then check out a couple articles. I do have information up from the Department of Justice and the statement released by Pam Bondi just February of this year. So I don't know what the deal is about this whole not wanting to release the files. I mean, Trump just needs to release them and let it be. What's the problem? So, unless there's something to hide, just release the files. I think we can all just say unanimously we all want the files to release, even if it's just good content. But it's so many people that have been hurt. He was charged and convicted and found guilty of all the heinous things that he did. And I can say personally for that reason, I think the file should be released. Aside from putting any of the victims in any further harm or danger, if that is not the threat we're facing here, and you have an entire Department of Justice that is not saying that the victims will be placed in greater harm by releasing the files to the public, just go ahead and release them. It's as simple as that. So if it were any other person, they would have done it already. Man. But either way, before we get to it, I want you guys to make sure you hit the like button and subscribe here to the LLC. We are growing. I've done a post. I've been putting up just a daily update on the channel of the supporters that are coming in, finding the content valuable. Hopefully the information provided is valuable and useful to you all, and it encourages you all to go out and read and research for yourselves as well as become a member of the LLC. I try to do weekly members only live streams, and we have a good time, great discussion. I have been reporting heavily on Eligio Bishop and his cult that he had here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I will be doing a live stream showing of show 3 of the rise and fall of his dumb cult that's somehow still active. So make sure you're tuning in for that. That live stream will be happening this evening, 7:30 Eastern time. Until then, we're going to be going into the absent files, and I just wanted to kind of show a bit of what Candace Owens spoke of earlier, as well as Voidzilla, and prove that no matter what side of the aisle you're on politically, everybody wants the files released. Everyone wants the files released. So, like I said, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm a for American, and I think it's just to the benefit of the public trust, especially if people are to trust anything going on in the White House. If it's of no consequence to the president and to anyone in the White House, release the files and be done with it. But if there's a hesitancy on it, don't get upset when people say you must be hiding something. So, shout out to all of you all here in the LLC, the supporters, the mods. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button and comment below and let me know your thoughts on this. I don't really care who it is that's speaking on this. I think people just need to speak the truth. Some may or may not like Candace Owens. I don't have any problems with her. To be honest, never met him. She's never done anything wrong to me. And of course, Coffeezilla is one of my favorite content creators. So I wanted to be able to kind of bring the best of both worlds that are speaking on this issue. That represents, whatever aisle they stand on. But you can see people who may have opposing political views coming together for one common purpose, and that is to have the truth to be released to the public. That is something extraordinary. Look how many people have been brought together by us uniting and saying, release the Epstein files. All right, so let's get to it. First, we're gonna start off with Pam Bundy. Yeah, you just a gift that keeps on giving. So this was the press release back on Thursday, February 27th to 25 from the Attorney General of the United States of America, Pamela Bundy, releases first phase of declassified Epstein files. And so it states today, and I'm not going to read the entire document. I always encourage you all to go out and to do some research and reading for yourselves as well. But this is on the justice.gov or website. This is stating today, Attorney General Pamela Bundy, in conjunction with the FBI, declassified and publicly released files related to convicted ex-offender Jeffrey Epstein and his exploitations of over 250 underage girls at his homes in New York and Florida, among other locations. Don't forget, he had a whole island. The first phase of declassified files largely contains documents that have been previously leaked but never released in a formal capacity by the U.S. government. Yeah, who's leaking this stuff again? I don't care. Just keep whatever. I would say keep doing it, but leaks happen, y'all. Leaks happen. They're gonna happen. Then, this Department of Justice is following through on President Trump's commitment to transparency and lifting the veil on the disgusting actions of Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators. The first phase of files released today sheds light on Epstein's extensive network and begins to provide the public with long overdue accountability. The FBI is entering a new era, one that will be defined by integrity, accountability, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. And this was from the FBI Director Kash Patel. There will be no cover ups, no missing documents, and no stone left unturned. And anyone from the prior or current Bureau who undermines this will be swiftly pursued. If there are gaps, we will find them. If records have been hidden, we will uncover them, and we will bring everything we find to the DOJ to be fully assessed and transparently disseminated to the American people as it should be. The oath we take is to the Constitution, and under my leadership, that promise will be upheld without compromise. Okay, so let's go over to an article. I'm not going to read the whole thing. You guys can read it. As a matter of fact, let me go back. So you all can see there are a list of documents here that have been released so far. You got an evidence list, flight logs, USV Maxwell, and then flight logs released, USV Maxwell Part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a contact book redacted, a masseuse list redacted. Why is it redacted if it's released? I don't understand. I'm just gonna click on one so you all can just see what it is. So this is publicly released from the USV Maxwell criminal case here, and I mean this is like a aircraft logs. That's it. Half the stuff you can't really see and make out. Like, that's annoying. All I see Jeffrey Mark, Jeffrey GVA Mark. Like I'm not seeing anything that Jeffrey Epstein. I see some GNA Anderson, Ghislaine. Like the people we expect to be with him that were named in the criminal matter. Unless I see Trump on here, I mean, that'll be eye opening. Trump, are you on here? Are you on this list? Is this what we're not barely able to see? If Trump is on here, y'all, I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna laugh. I mean, our U.S. Supreme Court acts as if they're scared of him, so it's not like anything's gonna happen, I guess. Yeah, it's funny how that happens, right? Well, you have someone that thinks they're above the judicial branch of government. I hope people are aware to the U.S. Supreme Court. The president of the United States cannot fire you. He can't fire you. He can call for you to be impeached all day. He can't do it. Now, sad to say, it would take the other branch of government to have someone impeached, but you know, seeing how much of a wuss they've been in a lot of other things, let's not push the needle on that. I'm not gonna say they won't do it because I've seen some unbelievable things happen in my day within the last 2, 3 good years that should not have happened. But whatever. But they can't. I mean, he can't fire them, right? So I don't know why they act like they're so scared of him, but we're gonna keep living. Let's get to this article where Johnson, who's the Speaker of the House, shuts door on House vote before September on releasing Epstein files. This was 32 minutes ago. This article came out. So Pam Bundy released some statement back on February of 2025. And of course, Kash Patel goes right behind her and they're beating their chest and huffing and puffing and didn't blow any house down. Speaker Mike Johnson on Monday, today is July 21st, Monday, yeah, said he does not plan to allow votes on any measures related to the Jeffrey Epstein case in the House final week in Washington before a week-long recess, despite intense pressure from some of his own GOP members to go on the record on the issue. Why? I'm curious, Mike Johnson. What's the matter, buddy? What's wrong with you? You don't want to tell people you don't want to release it. What's wrong? Who's pressuring you, man? You need your MAGA help. You can get it. I'm sure some of the MAGA supporters will be, willing to come up there and kind of help serve as your bodyguards so that you can have a confident vote and be able to release this stuff. I mean, I don't understand. What are you scared of, man? Some of President Donald Trump's most loyal supporters in Congress have been pressing party leaders to allow for a vote to show they support transparency around the Epstein saga, an issue that continues to animate the MAGA base, even as Trump has repeatedly sought to blame Democrats for fanning the flames. I don't know if the Democrats are to blame on this one. I mean, they literally see that the MAGA supporters who support Trump are the ones pressing forward. So far, I don't know if MAGA and Democrats have merged together, but it has certainly brought people together across the aisle to say release the files. But he knows who's MAGA and supporting and wanting those files released. He can clearly see all those meetings up there in Congress. He knows who's wanting that vote to go on. Stop it. Stop it, Trump. The House forcing the Trump administration to turn over materials against its will would represent a remarkable rebuke of the president by his base. Trump, you gotta realize, you gotta realize, man. It's your supporters that are more so pushing for it because do they not control the House? Do Republicans not control the House? They're pushing for it. They want the transparency you promised them. Give it to them. Give them that transparency, Trump. We're all waiting for that to happen. That would be epic. But the push has shown little forward momentum among the party's leadership on Capitol Hill because Mike Johnson knows better. Who's telling you to do it, Mike Johnson? Is Trump telling you don't do it under no circumstance? I'm sure that's what's happening. Johnson told CNN on Monday the full House would not vote on a pending measure from members of his own party, a non-binding resolution calling for the release of additional Epstein files before the chamber's August recess, which is slated to begin at week's end. My belief is we need the administration to have the space to do what it's doing. And if further congressional action is necessary or appropriate, then we'll look at that. But I don't think we're at that point right now because we agree with the president. What is he saying again? Is he saying to release it or not? What does Trump want? What do you want, Trump? Most people are confused, except the ones who aren't. Oh my God. What do you want, man? So he doesn't want the files to be released. Oh, okay. as part of a deal to approve the White House rescission package. Last week, Johnson reached an accord with GOP holdouts that allowed the House Rules Committee to advance that non binding resolution calling for the Epstein files release. But it is unclear if that measure will make it to the House floor, with Johnson firmly standing behind Trump on the matter. There is no daylight between the House Republicans, the House, and the president on maximum transparency, Johnson said, adding that Trump wants all the credible files. All the files are credible, Trump. You got to pick out which ones you're talking about are not credible versus the ones that are, because otherwise, everyone will be confused. Oh, come on. On Epstein to be released and asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce grand jury testimony related to the case. And all of that is in process right now. I just showed the documents on the DOJ website right here that are released so far. And this was as of February 27, 2025. What are we talking about here? What's in that contact list? See the contact book. Y'all, this is unbelievable. We're going to get to the videos in a second. I just wanted you all to see, like, they've already started releasing stuff. Ooh, it's in alphabetical order. Is Trump on there? I think that's what people want to see. Is Trump in this book? Is he in there? Trump, are you in the contact book? Is that what you're trying to? Just let us know if you're in the contact book, Trump. Okay. Just let us know. Say, hey, I'm in the contact book. To the Lady Luck Club. She keeps asking. I'm in the contact book. It's there. I'm not seeing it. All right, so all of a sudden they don't want anything released. This is priceless. Priceless. Okay. So I'm going to go over to Voidzilla, also known as Coffeezilla, because I want to hear his video on his comments and thoughts on this. So far, he's, the worst cover-up of my lifetime. I think this is probably the worst cover-up of many people's lifetime. You're not alone, Coffee. You're not alone at all. So you guys, make sure you check out his second channel, Voidzilla. It's got over 1 million. Woo! You are one blessed man. Coffeezilla is still the primary channel, if I understand correctly. And you guys have to check out his content. He does great work on unmasking, scams and frauds and schemes and everything. And he talks about, from his research and interviews, he follows the money. Yeah, he follows the money. If anyone follows the money, he does. So may he live long and prosper. So shout out to him. Let's check this out.
This is the worst cover-up of my lifetime, the Epstein case. The reason I'm talking about it so much is because if you can get away with this, you really can get away with anything. If the government can tell people to not believe what they just said a few months ago and have everyone be fine with that, that's just a level of gaslighting that I refuse to be a part of. Never forget, they just promised us names in the release of the Epstein files.
Breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released.
What kind?
A lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information.
But in this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable.
Yeah, well, apparently there are no names to be given, no list, no blackmail. Epstein has now been pushed as a lone trafficker. It's the lone trafficker theory, guys. Essentially, the government's memo that they just released contradicts everything we've seen before.
I just put up a book list. I don't even know how helpful that is. Of course, I'm just looking to see if Donald Trump is in it. Everybody has their own little questions they want answered with this, but I think we all want to know, is Donald Trump in that book?
And now basically implies that Epstein was trafficking to himself and Ghislaine Maxwell was trafficking to Epstein, and there was no other blackmail or trafficking going on. That's what this memo essentially implies. His wealth and his power then would be just from his skill as a New York financier.
I'm talking about Jeff Epstein, the New York financier.
Basically, he was the world's greatest tax advisor by day and the world's greatest trafficker at night to himself. And the rich and powerful people who all flocked to him and to his island had no idea of this double life. That really is kind of the heart of the modern theory, is that just all Epstein by himself, and then his friends just were there for his tax advice, despite not being a tax professional or a lawyer. Not only that, another huge revelation is the fact that really the government has increased the number of victims and decrease the number of perpetrators, right? We had the idea that there were these other perpetrators for a while, that they were just redacted because the government was building cases. Now we got pretty clear statements that there isn't evidence to bring future cases on third parties. But if you look at the original 2019 indictment, it says dozens of victims. This is from Ken Klippenstein. But the Epstein review says over 1,000 victims.
What?
So what happened, guys? And by the way, in the interim, they also increased the number to 200 to 250.
200 victims. 200. So we have well over 250.
Yeah,
actually.
that's what we
So
read
we
in
went from
the.
dozens to 200 to over.
So I read it on the Department of Justice website. 250. So here's the thing: a lot of times when they have these huge cases like this, going down, it says 250 underage girls. This is what I read on the Department of Justice website as a part of the statement released on Thursday, February 27th, 2025. So now there's, what, they're saying there are thousands of victims? I think the thing is this. They want to classify some people who should be perpetrators as victims just so they can take away the culpability of it all. But that's not what their job is to do. It's not the Department of Justice job is just turn someone from a perpetrator into a victim. That's for the evidence to do and for a jury. I just, if the evidence does not seemingly follow someone and kind of present them to be a victim, but more so a perpetrator, that's just them not wanting to take accountability. And now they want to say, "Oh, I'm a victim because I fell inside his house somehow, and I saw this happening, but I didn't say anything. But I couldn't leave." It just kind of like throwing out rocks in the water and watching the ripple effect. But what really makes them a victim? Especially if they were once seen as a perpetrator. That means they have some level of culpability. There's some evidence that showed that they were a part of it willfully as a participant. A victim is one who was either not understanding what they were participating in or they were forced to do it. But it's just amazing how this thing is being spent around.
1,000 in the span of basically a year
Oh,
in terms of
God.
victims. We 10x the number of victims. But now there's no perpetrators. Like the perpetrators have been reduced.
Oh my
That
God.
is the crazy thing about what they're implying here, what this lone trafficker theory is pushing forward. It's also strange because previously Epstein in a court filing is said to have provided information to the FBI as agreed upon. Case agent advised that no federal prosecution will occur in this matter as long as Epstein continues to uphold his agreement with the state of Florida. So apparently there was some
Wow.
deal where Epstein was providing information to the FBI. What information? We don't know because no
Who
one else
knows?
was involved. There's also the simple fact that if you go to the FBI records, what they call the vault, most of the files are just heavily redacted. So the idea that we got some
You can't
transparency
see
waived is
anything.
literally a joke. Yes, it is true. There's no Epstein list where there's names written down, but names exist in documents, on videos, and images, and they're all redacted. What's going on here? They're going to say, oh, it's all for the victims, right? But it's not all victim names. In addition to that, this lone trafficker theory is already on shaky grounds when you think about Prince Andrew's settlement with Virginia Giuffre, where he paid $16 million to make civil sexual assault allegations go away. Now, of course, it's
Wow.
worth saying that he did not admit to guilt. This was a settlement, but that is what you're always going to have with these rich and powerful people. In
Yeah.
the same way, you also have Leon Black, who reportedly paid $158 million over 5 years to Jeffrey Epstein for tax advice. And guess what? Leon Black, billionaire, also paid the U.S. Virgin Islands $62 million in cash as part of a settlement, a non-prosecution, where they wouldn't go after him for anything from, quote, any and all claims of any nature whatsoever, specifically.
So he just got a blanket immunity. And the country accepted that. They said, "Oh, so what? Are you going to go on a murk spree? How's this going to go? You want a blanket immunity just specifically to Jeffrey Epstein or just for all crimes? What are you expecting out of this? Because no. The answer is no.
Related to Jeffrey Epstein.
Good
It's
Lord.
worth noting that $15 million of this cash payment will be going to counseling programs and activities or mental health services.
This
You
is
also have
insane.
Jess Staley, the former boss of Barclays. He directly admitted to having sex with a member of Epstein's staff, which you would expect if someone was running a trafficking operation. Although,
What?
I just have to say that there was a statement that this was entirely consensual, and I'm not saying anything about that. I'm simply saying the idea that Epstein was just trafficking for himself is unlikely to be true, in my opinion. Later, Staley wrote to Epstein, "Say hi to Snow White." Epstein replied, "What character would you like next?" Staley responded, "Beauty and the Beast."
Oh
and then
my
Jeffrey
God.
Epstein said, "Well, one side is available." Obviously,
Oh, God,
some
this
type
is
of
so-
coded message. You can read into that
Yes,
for
it is.
yourself. But all of this is public. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what makes the government's memo so infuriating is so much reporting has already been done. These settlements with powerful figures under denials, yes, but also under very questionable circumstances make just a complete denial and statement that all of this was just Epstein impossible to believe. In September 2009, Epstein also emailed a woman named Irina to tell her that Jess Staley is staying in the Berkeley Hotel in London tonight. Staley emailed Epstein the next day to say, I should have taken your offer, according to the Times. There's also this book by one of the 60 Minutes correspondents called A Ticking Clock, where he says that he met with...
When I tell y'all Coffeezilla is bad to the bone, he is bad to the bone, okay? This is just an 11-minute video on the Epstein files. Imagine what he could do trying to uncover a $250 million Ponzi scheme or crypto scam. Yeah. Thank you, Coffeezilla. Mama loves ya.
Ghislaine Maxwell, and he said, I want the tapes. I said to Maxwell at a table at Regency Bar, I know he was videotaping everyone. I want the tape of Trump with the girls. She didn't deny the existence of the tapes, but said, I don't know where they are. He apparently replied, ask Epstein, and she gave him a stern look and pointed a finger at my face. I'm the daughter of a press baron. I know the way you people think. If you do one side, you must do the other. If you get tapes on Trump, you have to do Clinton. Now, again, what you make of a third-hand source like this, talking to Ghislaine Maxwell, who apparently doesn't deny that some of these tapes exist, was...
Now I'm convinced even more, Trump, you just don't want your name on this. You want us to know that you're named in all of this? I mean, come on. Well, child, there's only so much redaction you can do. Somebody always has an original out there somewhere. Somewhere over the rainbow are the original documents that are not redacted. Less is hard.
Even telling the truth or just playing some game. Either way, this was all known about, not just by people after the fact, but allegedly by people during the fact. This is from Mark Epstein. It's sourced from Jeffrey Epstein. Quote, if I said what I know about both candidates, they'd have to cancel the election. That's what Jeffrey told me in 2016.
In 2016.
So not even Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell allegedly were claiming this was all just between them. They were constantly insinuating that there were compromising things on various powerful people. What's funny is that Trump himself, even before he was in a position to declassify this stuff, had accused other powerful people of doing these things.
Bill Clinton.
Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. That island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just
but now he doesn't want to release anything.
The fact that Jeffrey Epstein was in touch with other convicted Larry Nassar, he was writing letters. So the idea, once again, that he was just by himself, off by himself, doing things on his island by himself, and then taking calls with people like Bill Gates simply for philanthropic advice really pushes the bounds of belief. Don't forget, a close associate of Bill Gates was named a fallback executor on the will of Jeffrey Epstein, which he, by the way, said he was shocked by and he deeply regrets meeting Epstein. Bill Gates has said similar things to that effect. Of course, Bill Gates fraternized with Epstein after he was convicted of crimes. Previously, he told the Wall Street Journal,
yeah, they always in deep regret when the person gets caught and they don't want to get in trouble. But then they try to buy their way out of things. They try to buy their way out of consequence. And guess what? You have others that let them do it. The whole aspect of no one being above the law can only apply if we don't allow others to think that they are above the law. So if someone is accepting some money on behalf of an entire government to where this man says, I want to be immune from everything regarding Epstein, or sounds like any criminal activity, and they say, okay, we'll take the money. Guess what you're doing? You're putting him above the law. You're putting him up beyond reproach. Sometimes we as human beings aid in that nonsense when we don't hold people accountable. And then next thing you know, they become a cult leader.
Didn't have any business relationship or friendship with him, but in fact, he met multiple times with him at his Manhattan townhouse. Now, once again, I have to say real quick, all of these people are innocent until proven guilty. All of them deny doing anything untoward. But my point is, there are already too many associations to make the lone trafficker theory make any sense. For example, Jean-Luc Brunel was somebody who apparently trafficked a bunch of people to Epstein, who himself abused a bunch of women and even was charged for it. He was charged for some really awful things and then later found dead in his cell. Interestingly, Epstein was actually a financier of Brunel's modeling agency where a lot of this alleged abuse happened. So once again, the idea of the lone trafficker just doesn't make sense because Epstein's directly linked to another guy who is also abusing women. So after all of this, they're really asking you to believe the unbelievable. They're asking you to not believe what they've said about this case, both out of office and now in power. They're asking you to not believe public reporting linking Epstein to other known files. They're asking you not to believe suspicious circumstances regarding settlements of powerful people. They're asking you to believe that Epstein was just the greatest tax advisor and financial advisor on the planet that all of these billionaires needed to consult, despite the fact that there are entire organizations built around providing the same services as this without the, links to crimes. They're asking you to believe that when people are talking about Snow White and Beauty and the Beast, they're referencing Disneyland. And they're especially asking you to believe that they have found 900 new victims since reviewing these files and exactly 0 new perpetrators. So I'm just not buying it personally. I find it insulting to the intelligence of every single person who's ever looked at this story. And yeah, it really makes me feel like this was a appropriate time to launch a crime is legal merch collection, to be honest. So yeah, that's probably my last video.
That's what they do. They're like making crime legal. It's so crazy. It is so crazy.
Classify the Epstein files.
So I'm going to start here with, we're going to end this out with Candace Owens, international headliner. Girl, you making headlines on a lot of things, but there's certain things that I do agree with her on. I did do a video on her and her idea about, a whole war between Israel and Iran and how the U.S. should not be involved in it if Israel can hold their own. And here we have, she's speaking on, I guess, Trump losing his control of his base. I'm A4 American. No one controls me and I fear God. That's it. So unless this mere mortal has gotten on a cross and died for our sins, I don't owe him anything. But I think, you support who you support. That's part of free will. No one should have to question that either. Vote for who you want to vote for. Support who you want to support. Then I'm not here to tell anyone about that, nor am I trying to dive into that politics. But when it comes to a matter of transparency, I think we can all agree that the Epstein files need to be released unredacted because somebody has an unredacted copy and they're going to get sick of it and they're going to release it anyway. We're praying for that to happen. All right, let's see what Candace has to say on this.
Monday, I will start by saying I think that we made history last week because on Thursday, Trump begrudgingly ordered Pam Bondi to move a judge to unseal the grand jury testimonies related to the Epstein case. And I want to be clear, absolutely nothing is going to come of that, and I'll explain why. But the point here is that MAGA revolted against Trump and we won. But the question lingers, why? Why has it come to this, right? Like, what are we doing here? What is Trump hiding? Why is he going down like this over Jeffrey Epstein? I'll tell you why I think it is in just a moment. Plus, later on in the show, the Coldplay concert-going CEO that was caught in an affair has now been fired.
Oh, yeah, that's so weird.
I cannot lie, and I'd like to share my thoughts on it. So let's jump right back in. Welcome back to Candace.
Oh, what a baby bump.
I can tell you what they were banking on. Who is they? Who is they? Well, clearly, Trump is surrounded by neocons. He's surrounded by never Trump people. And what they are banking on is what is termed the madness of crowds. Have you heard about that expression or psychology, if you will? The madness of crowds essentially is exactly what it sounds like. People, when they are in crowds, do insane things. There have been so many studies conducted that reveal the psychology of crowds. It's just crazy. Groupthink is essentially dumbthink. And by the way, everybody has fallen victim to it at some point in their lives. If you think back, you were in a crowd, you did something weird. Okay?
You don't even have to be in a crowd in person. You can be on a crowd on social media. Sometimes people are just going to go along with it or they're just going to be antagonistic, but that no one's thinking about, what it comes down to some level of, critical thinking or showing some level of intelligence or that you've read anything or, everybody's fallen victim to it at some point. But I can't fathom how all of the people that are, expecting some level of transparency with these files could just sit back and say, well, we're not going to release them right now, even though we said we would do it back in February because reasons. Like, are you serious? Oh, man. The hypocrisy of it all was so staggering to me. Okay, let's go.
Actually, very clearly remember an example of when I did that. I was in Barcelona at a Lost in a Moment concert. It's like a festival of sorts, I guess. And the DJ had finished playing his set. It must have been 2 a.m. in the morning. And for some reason, one person, when the DJ finished playing his set, just like bowed. And then everybody, all of us just started bowing. It's so weird. I look back on that and just go, what an absolute heathen. Why were we all bowing? I don't know. Just the madness of crowds. It makes no sense. Another obvious example of that, which is a little bit darker, is COVID. It was weird. Everybody got weird. The supermarkets, the stickers on the floor, looking back at people and looking angry at them because they didn't go from sticker to sticker. Or maybe they forgot something and had to go backwards. Yeah, that, my friends, is the madness of crowds. Everybody is doing it, so I better just do it. Anyways, the point I'm making here is that Donald Trump and the Zio cronies that are around him were banking on that reaction from MAGA. Just follow the king. Bow at the DJ set at the end for no reason at 2 a.m. in Barcelona. Okay, that's what they were banking on. They wanted that. They thought that Trump would say to us, jump. And everyone would go, okay, how high? So when Trump told us to simply forget about Jeffrey Epstein, started terming it a Democrat hoax. And when he said, only stupid people think otherwise. Oh, the weaklings think otherwise.
That was his excuse.
They thought they would just be entranced. And they were wrong. And now both Trump and the neocons around him, they are receiving the shock of their lives. They are learning that the MAGA movement was not game. The MAGA movement instead rose up like a tidal wave and it was ready to crush Trump. That is the reality. It turns out that MAGA is not actually a cult. They were hoping it was a cult. It turns out that Trump maybe doesn't even understand the movement that he's led for the last decade, okay? Trump just learned.
No. That I disagree too. No, he understands perfectly. He just understands when he's saying things that they want to hear, they will jump when he says jump. This time they just chose not to jump. They didn't ask how high, they simply chose not to jump. It's all about what's being said. So, like any other movement, you got the leaders, they will say whatever. As long as that is what people believe and that's what they want to hear, then they're going to stay on top. The moment they start speaking against what the people still want to hear and what he originally sold them on is when people start to, especially if you have a big backlash. It's different if you got one or two groups here and there. But when it's overwhelming, yeah, they still want the release of the files. They may not question why he doesn't want to release it, but they want it released. They don't care who does. They don't care who released the files. Whoever has them, release them. That's it. Now, none of them have gone to Trump themselves and said, why can't you release the files again? Why are you having second thoughts? Why are you changing your mind? See, that is an indication that someone is thinking for themselves and they're asking questions to challenge him, rightfully so. They're not challenging him directly. They may or may not be buying it as a hoax, but they're not even challenging him directly either. So if you don't start doing that, then you'll never do that. So when he says something that you know you didn't vote for, and you don't question him directly about why he's saying the things he's saying, or why he's, trying to somehow roll back on the idea of him releasing the Epstein files. If they don't ask those questions, then we'll be right back to the beginning where they just believe whatever he says and goes on with it. That doesn't get to the root of the problem. The problem is when he tells you all something and you're okay with it, you're fine. When he tells people something and then they don't like it, why don't you question and challenge him on it? He's the one saying it. Why blame that on the Democrat anything? I mean, seriously. So now he wants to sit here and pick and choose when he wants to give Democrats credit for something. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It's insulting to our intelligence. Come on now.
Learned that when it comes to children, hell hath no fury like a MAGA scorned. Okay, well, not just MAGA, by the way. This was left and right. People went, okay, I don't even care what boundaries we're crossing here. Release the damn files. Okay,
right.
The king of nothing. If you are not prepared to defend children, that's the point. You will endure a figurative regicide unless you release the files. We're going to protect the children first and foremost. So on Thursday, he partially caved to that pressure. First, he was fighting, hoax, all these things, and then there was movement. He tweeted this on Truth Social, and Pam Bondi responded to it. He wrote, based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to Jeffrey Epstein, I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. This scam, perpetuated by the Democrats, should end right now.
No,
and then you can see Pam Bondi responds and says, President Trump, we are ready to move the court tomorrow to unseal the grand jury transcripts. Okay. And then as a follow-up to this, Trump posted onto Truth Social on Saturday morning that they had done that. He shared, I have asked the Justice Department to release all grand jury testimony with respect to Jeffrey Epstein, subject only to court approval. With that being said...
Oh, now he wants the court approval on something.
He writes, with that being said, and even if the court gave its full and unwavering approval, nothing will be good enough for the troublemakers and radical left lunatics making the request. It will always be more, more, more. And then he ends it with, MAGA.
But kind of like MAGA people are the ones wanting
the language there, because what he's doing is he's kind of already tipping his hand, right? He's basically saying, you're not going to be happy with what we're about to give you, but he's trying to sort of prime the base to go, oh, but if any person is not happy, they're like the raving leftist lunatics. They're troublemakers. Why are you causing so much trouble? Well, I'm going above and beyond now. I don't even care about this. I'm going to release.
Isn't that proof that he expects his supporters on the right, I guess, to be under control then? If you say no, we don't like it, or if you go against them, Then now all of a sudden you're a leftist and a Democrat. But as long as you guys are giving him the response he wants, then you're MAGA. Make that make sense? So the idea that he doesn't want you to have your own independent thought should be more concerning than anything else. But yet again, where are those hardcore MAGA supporters when it comes down to questioning why are you trying to backtrack on this? Anyone thought to do that? Has any MAGA supporters gone up to Trump and say, I am a MAGA supporter. I voted for you. I die hard. I wear the red hat. Why are you backtracking on this Epstein file? It's not a hoax. What is going on? Somebody give him a Diet Coke and a cheeseburger.
These transcripts. So I'm going to tell you that I'm going to predict that there's going to be people that aren't happy with this.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Right? It's pretty obvious. Okay. He knows we're not going to get anything. We know that Jeffrey Epstein was working for the CIA and the Mossad. You'd have to be a big dummy, big dummy not to recognize that by now, okay? We now also understand that everything involving Jeffrey Epstein was really a show. It was like watching a drama play being put on. It wasn't a question ever of whether they were going to tell us who he was involved with. It was really them trying to figure out how to satisfy public interest in the case, right? Their goal was to protect the sinister truth of what he had been up to and who he was up to it for and how he had done it, but also managing to satisfy public interest. This is what show trials are all about, by the way. We just got to satisfy the public interest so we can move on. Now, you will recall that the second time when he was flying back, Paris landed into Teterboro, he was indicted in the Southern District New York courts, right? Southern District New York courts. And we know that it's quite interesting that now Pam Bondi is trying to sell to us that the Southern District of New York is going to be the answer to everything that's going on, right? Like suddenly the SDNY is going to be open to showing to us what happened in these transcripts. So I'm going to show you these articles, by the way, just to make it so clear that they know that we're going to get nothing in this, because they went and they interviewed some lawyers and who came out and said right away, they said, you're not going to get anything here. This is the Associated Press. Request to unseal Epstein grand jury transcripts likely to disappoint, ex-prosecutors say.
And I'm going to pause on that and in that right there. You guys go check out Candace Owens. I want to give her a thumbs up on this. This is a video she did today. This girl is hanging out there with 4.47 million supporters over there. Shout out to you, Candace Owens. I mean, some of the I don't do conspiratorial stuff, but the idea and bottom line point that the files need to be released, I think that is something across the board that even the most diehard Trump or Republican supporter or however can stand behind, just like a Democratic supporter or left-leaning. You could be down the aisle middle or a for American like myself, where I just care about the American people and still want to have the full transparency and disclosure that we deserve. You're talking about 250 girls. What are we doing here? Like, this is not up for question, Trump. It's just not. So, as I said, there's always someone out there who has the unredacted files that are probably going to be more willing to release that because they're going to get sick of all this stuff going on in the news. And you're going to be like, you know what? Yeah, I got the phone book. I'm just going to, this contact book, I'm going to let it go. So if you guys make sure you check out the Department of Justice website, and for what is available here at the bottom, you see some information here, the masseuse list. Oh man, you could go on for days reading this stuff, but redacted, black blocks. Look at this. Yeah, redacted. All of it is redacted. So that's what I mean by being disappointing. There's nothing there. So either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Shout out to you, Voidzilla, Coffeezilla and his Voidzilla channel, and as well as Candace Owens. Continue to push towards, getting this stuff out there. She has more videos she's done on this as well, and so. Oh man, it's been fun, but I thank you all for checking this out and supporting me here. I didn't mean for this video to be this long, but it just, a lot of information I wanted to cover, some facts and some articles and information I wanted to go over, and just to kind of gain, a couple perspectives here from some other great content creators who have large followings. And they're both saying release the files. So it doesn't matter how you vote. It doesn't matter which side of the political aisle you lean on. The bottom line is that everyone wants transparency and the truth. You're talking about, underage girls here that were subjected to, this heinous criminal activity. He was convicted, Jeffrey Epstein. He was put in prison and incarcerated, and he passed away there. He lost his life there. So people want to know what happened and what else is there to know. And then for other perps out there, yeah, it's like a safeguard to know who we're dealing with and how we should safeguard and protect ourselves around other people. You never know. They're lurking in the bushes, and we might need to keep our whole kids and family from them. But how do we know that if we can't even see, the culpability or any, level of transparency or accountability given to them as well? Don't cover up for them. You owe them nothing. They have a lot of money. That's all they have. But when you die and leave this earth, you can't take none of that money with you. I would love to know what it's like to have $1 million, though. All right. Thank you all so much. Make sure you hit the like button and leave your comments and thoughts below. Would you like to have $1 million as well? And if you want the Epstein files released, leave your comments and thoughts below. All right. And thank you so much for tuning in. And until the next one, we will be following this. And I'm going to do some more videos on the international headliner. That's why I call Candace Owens. But until the next one, you guys take care, lady. Look out. Deuces.